This is a video response for Shafe. Link in the comments. He made a video entitled How Broke Do You Want to Be? And it had to do with people who have high time preference, meaning they're willing to take credit installment on items that they want to purchase. Use a credit card, finance a car, go really crazy, and versus see what you want, save for what you want, pay out for what you want. Also in his video, if you hadn't taken the time to watch it, he gives his own experience and the difference where he has financial discipline yet lacks physical discipline. Okay. A couple of different ways I thought about going with this video, and I don't want to take as much of a personal route down this. What I'd like to do is pose the question of how have we found ourselves getting this far lately? And I was offered this myself in my recent purchase, automotive purchase. I believe it was allowed 7 years of financing on a vehicle. 7 years of financing on a vehicle. I don't want to get into how much, but here's the thing about the percentage of financing against how much you owe. For a long period of time, I will not have, if I had gone down that route, I would not have had equity. I would have been upside down, which means I'm not going to be able to trade out of this son of a bitch for like 3 some odd years. In a lot of cases, interest charges are front loaded on the loan, so even more so, you're not building any sort of value or getting back any of your building value is the wrong term for this, because you're not building back or recouping any of the expense that you've made. We've begun, as an aside, to term things incredibly wrong. A vehicle is not an investment. An investment is something that gives you a return on its value. So the old term ADEL, assets, depreciating assets, and liabilities. Vehicles are like your daily conveyance is a depreciating asset. So maybe an asset, but it's a depreciating asset. Best you can do is recoup the value. If you use it to transport yourself to work, then it does follow some, but I digress. That's not the point. Fuck my brain. Any old way. 7 years of financing, given the term, and I'm going to give just a nice round number. Let's say it was a $30,000 vehicle. Makes the monthly payments nice and sexy, nice and affordable. But the bottom line is my overall expenditure on a $30,000 vehicle is, just to make a round number, $60,000. So I'm spending $60,000 on a $30,000 vehicle. Over the course of 7 years, the dollar amount that I personally make, my personal household makes in 7 years, it still comes off of the end. That $60,000 still takes away from that money. The installment credit, while affordable throughout as I'm kicking along, almost in this weird serfdom that puts me on the hook at the end, I'd be paying so much for time preference in this scenario. But how did we get this far? There was a time when, so in the old world, before we came over here, a person who was a debtor, it was looked down upon by society. Even so far as if you defaulted on your loans, it wasn't bankruptcy. You were put into prison and not released until your family paid back those debts. Thus, that's a pretty interesting way to shore up an economy. Now in the United States, coming over here, they didn't want to have debtors' prisons, but it was very much looked down upon to be a debtor. That was considered a shameful lifestyle as a culture. Where and how did we transition and come so far that it would positively, I think, blow people's minds in the 19th century what has become in the 21st century? That's my question. Where was the turn? And if you're thinking what I'm thinking, that it was along the time of the establishment of the Federal Reserve and how we went from a Austrian economic sort of policy where you're essentially paying forward, paying up, everything's hard, everything's established, to more of a Keynesian economy where you actually work in negative terms, like everything's a bit of a debt to be repaid. Is that the structure that, in a conspiracy standpoint, built this sort of system? I am curious what everybody's thoughts are on this. Also, too, I see this as nothing but a problem moving forward. Just seems like a unsound way in the long run to allow an economy to go so far. Let me know what you think. Silver to the moon. Fiat is bad. Shafe is a fool. Love you guys. Can't wait to hear you.